Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So, what would you two like? Should I try to do something, or you want to speak something, Krishna Kun? You want to ask
Yes,
something?
Krishna Kund wanted to ask something.
Question, but I am happy to hear from you first, and then let's.
I can't hear you, Krishna Kun. Oh, just a second.
Cannot hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm sorry, I had the volume turned off. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question, and it's not like it's a big deal. I'm happy to hear from you if you have some thoughts to share about the fifth canto or anything in connection with Bhagavatam. So you share.
Well, it's a whole thing. It's a whole presentation. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Yes.
You had some question about the section, Kun?
Oh, I should go ahead, you said?
Yeah, your question.
Okay. Well, I had a simple question about Sthanam. Maharaj says something about Sthanam, which seems like the same word as Stanistitam, Shutigatam, Tanuvamanovi. I don't know if it's the same word, but it seems like the same word, the same root at least. And talks about how these boundaries are crucial for spiritual evolution. And I'm wondering if you wanna, if you married this, and if you wanna elaborate something on this. I kind of feel like this.
Yeah, just simple things. Just that Varnashram, a place in Varnashram, a sense that I'm married, or that I'm a brahmachari, but I'm a sense of having some boundary within Varnashram is crucial for spiritual evolution. Because if we don't have that, then until we come to the point where we have some spiritual identity, which comes way, way later for most everybody, then you're not going to make advancement hardly. It's going to be very, very hard.
So that would.
And those boundaries, though, at the same time, those boundaries of Varnashram Dharma is what's given by Guru. And I think that's a really important thing to note also, because sometimes devotees, they read something and due to their prior psycho conditioning, they have some attraction to something. I'll give you an example. I've seen a lot of men start cherry picking different things from Vedic literatures and hearing about, chaste women, chaste wives. And they read some things from Tulsi Das about how Tulsi Das says in one place that the mridanga and a woman become better when they're beaten. And they like that. And it appeals to their particular psychophysical nature. And they think this is very good. And then based on their conception, they want to try to act on that. And even they become they become little effects in it because they feel like this is Shastra. This is a tradition, this is correct. But unless they're hearing from a self-realized soul who's guiding them properly in bhakti, then all their understanding is just speculation. And they're not really understanding Shastra correctly. They're just finding something in Shastra which they find attractive and twisting it to suit themselves. So when we speak about sthanam or boundaries, those boundaries are given by Guru, especially when we're coming from the West. I mean, there are people like our dear Prabhupada Priya Sevak who grew up in a culture where in high school it was a scandal if a boy looked at another girl. They just didn't do that, much less talk to them. Oh my God. And anything beyond that is completely out of the question. He grew up in a culture like that. He grew up in a culture where I saw visiting his home. If he comes in from, he's being outside for more than a few hours, he has to take a bath before he can come into the house. And there's a culture there. So someone who's grown up in a culture like that, they'll naturally practice those rules and things. But somebody who hasn't grown up with those things and doesn't understand them in a natural way, then it's very easy for them to mix them up with spiritual life and think, oh, this is bhakti. That's some thoughts from myself on that. I don't know if that really answers your questions, any help or not, Krishna Kun.
I guess what you said last,
Any comments?
that can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess what you said last, that we may mix up these rules given by Guru
Well,
it's
see,
difficult
the rules,
because it follows the instructions. Sorry.
Prabhupada notes in the Gita, these rules, it's not just a one size fits all, and that's the whole conception
Yes.
about Varnashram. That was always Prabhupada's stress. So
What
it's
was
not.
Prabhupada's stress? What were you saying that it was Prabhupada's stress? That not that
Prabhupada in the Gita, Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita, he speaks some about Varnashram. I can't remember, maybe it's in chapter 3. And he says that he speaks just briefly something about it. And he says these principles are given by Guru.
yes, he says that in a couple of places. I remember this.
Yeah, that's such an important thing. So, yes, okay, Prabhupada said, sometimes Prabhupada said all women should be married, everybody should be married, everybody should be sannyasi. You can't take just comments out of context. But it's something in particular. We have individual instructions. It's really,
Yeah.
really important.
My bewilderment, I guess, was that I was always understanding that Varnashram Dharma is something that doesn't have to be done, but it's helpful as a safety net. And therefore, I understood that these boundaries may be the boundaries of such rules, either from Varnashram or from Gurudev, but rules that are kind of giving a framework to our daily sadhana and to our practice of bhakti. But then as soon as a guru gives an instruction, whether it's still Varnashram Dharma, my understanding is that it's only in this sense. The way Prabhupada says is that, yes, it's given by the guru, but it's actually spiritual in the sense that it's part of your guru bhakti to follow them. So it becomes
Exactly.
a thing.
It's not Varnashram Dharma, it's Vaidhi Bhakti.
Yeah, it's Vaidhi Bhakti. But then where is so crucial for spiritual evolution? So what is the boundary that is being talked about here exactly? Is it just a substitute? Like,
Maharaj here, he's speaking some particular boundaries about lust and about Varnashram system and some things like that. But when he makes this point, I saw also in a general transcript, he's speaking in a general way. And let's let him speak for himself and look at what he said. So in a general way, he's not just focusing on this particular boundary is crucial for spiritual or that particular boundary, but having some boundaries. And so often, we give the example of a small child. To have boundaries for a small child this is paraphrased, is crucial for their physical evolution, for their living. It's crucial for them to have some boundaries. Don't lie, don't drink bleach, don't, play with strange dogs on the street, don't play on the highway. You have certain boundaries. It's crucial for them. And why is it crucial for them? Because they don't know. And it's also crucial for us. In India, previously, the Prabhupada basically introduces four regulated principles. The principles are already there, but Prabhupada, as a policy, Prabhupada introduced them. I haven't seen or read anywhere that Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stressed those things in the same way, because that was just understood. That was just human culture, human life, because they're speaking to people in India, and they did speak about those principles, but they didn't make people take a vow for them and things. This is a boundary that Srila Prabhupada set up because he saw that we need to have a strong boundary, a strong wall for this. Otherwise, we can't focus.
Yeah. I just went back to the, yeah. I just went back to the transcription of Maharaj to this part to see if I get it more. And I don't know if you remember, maybe I just remember all of us, that Maharaj here says that respecting these boundaries, internal, which he says moral laws, and external structure of the universe is essential for our spiritual evolution. So I guess exactly these regulative principles that you just talked about, I guess these are the boundaries.
That's kind of an easier thing to understand than the physical boundaries of the universe.
Yeah.
But that's a fascinating point, isn't it?
That's why I was asking about it. It's fascinating, but I don't think I understand it.
Okay. Well, we can play around with that for a moment and look at it. What is this universe? What is the purpose of this universe? Now, we oftentimes quote from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in the 10th canto. He says the purpose of the universe is for Krishna's enjoyment. That's an internal purpose, and that's the ultimate purpose. But there is a secondary purpose, which for the purpose of the conditioned souls is more important. This is a durga, this is a prison house for people who've been abusive and things. So this whole universe, with all of its boundaries and all of its particular structure, it's meant to help the conditioned souls. And that's a really fascinating concept that Maharaj is giving here. So if we can understand something about the structure of the universe, then what I see implied in these comments is that we'll understand something about how the conditioned soul can become more elevated. And maybe we could see some of that in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in Gopakumar's travels, and how he's going from one place to another place, and there's different aspects of the Lord who worship there. And in one place that they see the Lord as fire, another place they see him as Shalagram, another place that they worship the Lord as Brahman. And there's also some physical connection with that in terms of the universe, in terms of the place where they're at, and the consciousness of the living entities there. And that's their particular, according to their particular faith, they have that system for them. That's my thought. Do you want to say anything on that, Krishna Khan?
Anapani has a comment on it.
All right. Anapani is here. And why don't we all show our faces here? What's your comment on Anapani?
Hare Krishna, please let me humble obeisance. I just wrote it in the chat. So just also in that summary, Guru Maharaj gave an example of a mango, the skin and the pulp. So the skin as a boundary, which is
right.
important to have that for the mango, symbolically the person, the practitioner, not to rot, also symbolically. But yeah, he also speaks about how the modern society does not have any boundaries and going crazy about changing the gender, doing whatever it wants, and just not able to do any spiritual practice leading to bhakti, basically. And
it
yeah,
reminds me of some friends of ours recently got married, and I was thinking about the whole marriage thing, And someone may ask, what is the necessity of having all this, you know, turban for the guy and all these ceremonies? And you can relate to that, I think, Anupayani, all these different things going on, inviting all the friends and doing all this stuff. And in America, you go to Las Vegas and you can, just visiting there, you can go and get married in 5 minutes. They can just go to this legal place and they do something. And then right across the street from it, they have a divorce place. So the skin on the mango is there to hold the pulp in. Otherwise, if we can just go crazy like Americans in marriage, or not just Americans, but I think in Russia and all over too, where marriage doesn't mean anything. And then it becomes very, very degrading for them. So we invited out there. We're gonna be partners. We're gonna stay together. We're gonna work together, no matter how difficult it is. And it's a samskar. It makes an impression on us.
Mhm.
I didn't remember. I mean, I remember, but I didn't remember this example with the mango. I guess this makes it a little more.
It's a great example.
Yeah.
I have something.
Go ahead.
Yes, also from the lecture of Maharaj that. Oh, okay. I had two thoughts. Sorry, I lost. Okay, first was that before applying Varnashrama system, we have to follow some moral rules, and non-violence is the first rule. So if we are applying this Varnashrama with violence, they will not work. This is not work. This is. But I also wanted to say something else, but I don't know. Also, I lost it.
I mean, think about it, and when it comes back to you, can come back. And I was thinking of those comments also about people changing their gender and things like that. And there's comments from Prabhupada. It may be it is confusing sometimes for devotees, and some devotees take a real hardcore kind of conservative, material conservative point of view that these people are just demons and there's no hope for them and they can't practice bhakti. But then we see Srila Prabhupada. I was just reading something from Gargamuni where he's saying that Allen Ginsberg once brought this guy, I can't remember his name now. He's, I'll find it in 1 second. The person who created LSD, Timothy Leary. Prabhupada brought Timothy Leary to meet Srila Prabhupada. And Timothy Leary, you know, for people like hippies growing up in America, Timothy Leary is a real famous, crazy guy. He's a man who created LSD, you know. And Prabhupada was so respectful to him and so appreciative of him, and he never criticized him. And Gargamuni's making the point that Prabhupada was that way with so many persons that way. He encouraged them. So I think it's a balanced thing. On one side, we can see Maharaj's comment. It's a fact. People are so, they have no boundaries. Even I can change my gender. Maybe I'll change my color of my skin. Maharaj talks about that too, and how what's his name, that Michael Jackson, you know, wanted to become a white person, and that I can change all these things. There's no boundaries. And the point he's trying to make, you know, Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj is not, as all of you know, he's not someone who's a radical, conservative, Varnashram kind of person with that. So I find it interesting, those comments. He's making the point, these things help us. There's certain boundaries that are there. And if we learn to accept them and live with them, you know, the gender thing's a big thing. A lot of women in America, a lot of women all over the world today don't like being women. They'd rather be tough and compete with the men and like that. And it becomes very confusing.
Mhm.
I'm not calling in anybody. Whoever else wants to talk, go ahead.
Go ahead, Natasha.
But it's
Okay,
nice if we can see you.
it came back to my mind, yeah, that this if we know what we are supposed to do, what is our nature, we will not over make more endeavors than needed to achieve something material, and we will make more endeavors to achieve something spiritual. That was the main. That is why we need this boundaries, not, and also if we know what is our how in Sri Upanishad it is said, our how part, not part, no,
Quota.
quarter, yeah, our quarter, then there is no envy, and also a Varashrama system can be achieved only in the society without envy, when everybody knows that this is my destiny, my nature, and I do this in this life, this, and I'm making, and it is already prescribed, and I can easily do it, and I will not make more than needed endeavors in this. So I will have some space for spiritual endeavors.
Yeah, so
That's also
Okay.
when we have a misunderstanding about Krishna consciousness, and especially if we're not following Guru, then we think, and a lot of people have thought, that Krishna conscious means being like a Brahmin, or whatever they think of as a Brahmin, because they don't really understand what a Brahmin is anyway. Or Krishna conscious means being an ideal Vedic wife, or this kind of box or that kind of box. And we try to imitate things. It's really, really important that we understand something about our nature and act accordingly. Krishna Kun.
yeah. Yeah, it's actually quite similar to what I wanted to say. I mean, it's connected, not exactly similar, but connected. That I just kind of thought about this. I haven't thought about Varnashram Dharma in these terms before, and sex change, and like changing from men to women and women to men, and all these things. And it seems to me that it's all coming from not being able to take responsibility and not accepting our lot in this life. And I really like what Natasha said now, that if you accept that this is how much you are able to do this life, and this is where your place is in the setup of things, then it's very easy to put your energy into spiritual activities instead.
Mhm.
But it's actually, I mean, it's taking in the West, and maybe, I don't know, maybe in India also, but in the West, it's taking us a lifetime sometimes to figure out where we fit in, what is our nature, what is our service, what is our life.
And by the time we figure it out, then we leave our body.
Yeah, we are ready to go, yeah. And then it means that we just wasted our whole life not putting our energy into Krishna, because we couldn't accept that this is what we were given in this life.
I want to share something from Srila Prabhupada. This is a conversation. This is from our magazine we made about Varnashram Dharma and Bhakti. It's a conversation I quote often. This is in Los Angeles in 1968. Let's see, the date. Anyway, Madhudvisa Prabhu asked, Prabhupada said something about Varnashram Dharma. And he asked Prabhupada, he said, well, in the stage of Kali, there is no Varnashram Dharma. So how can one discriminate? How can he understand what are his prescribed duties and that? He has that whole Varnashram kind of question, just like so many of us. And Prabhupada says, yes, before coming to Krishna consciousness, were you in Varnashram? And apparently he probably shook his head no, because there's no recording. But then Prabhupada says, then how have you come? how have you come to this position? Madhuri says, being philosophical, out of misery. Bala says, no, no, no. You come to execute Krishna consciousness. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, were you in Varnashram Dharma? No. So at the present moment, there's no possibility of persons following the principles of Varnashram Dharma, either here or anywhere. Everyone is Varna Sankar, Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In this age, everyone is a Sudra, nobody's a Brahmin, nobody's a Kshatriya, nobody's a Vaishya, all are Sudras. So in this age, you won't find anybody following Varnashram Dharma. Therefore, the panacea is engage everyone, the medicine of the program is to engage everyone in Krishna consciousness. Chant Hare Krishna, and then you come to the highest principle of Brahmanism. So that was Srila Prabhupada's general mood. But Prabhupada saw that devotees needed something else. And in some other lectures, Prabhupada said that you couldn't follow Varnashram Dharma, or excuse me, you couldn't follow Bhakti, and therefore we have to have Varnashram Dharma. But that wasn't what Prabhupada came to give. Prabhupada did not come to give Varnashram Dharma, and Varnashram Dharma is not required. What is required is to accept a guru who can give us some stanams and give us some boundaries and recommend what is a proper behavior for us. And that's such a beautiful thing. I also really like what Natasha was saying, that we don't have an understanding of our adhikar. My Guru Maharaj spoke about this quite a bit too. He said there's karma adhikar, there's jnana adhikar, there's bhakti adhikar, and you have to understand what your adhikar is. And then Guru understands that, he sees that, and he engages us accordingly. Anapapapayani.
I just kind of digesting what Krishna Kur, Natasha, and you said, and a few thoughts came in terms of Varnashrama Dharma and the topics of fifth canto. So Guru Maharaj is mentioning that for me, fifth canto usually associated a lot with this hellish planet descriptions, and he mentioning how in terms of explaining how the boundaries are helpful for us, acceptance, our quarter, as Natasha was mentioned, is basically appreciating and embracing those boundaries. And as Krishna Kun was mentioning, it's accepting our destiny in some way and just focus on spiritual practice. How, if we don't consider it, if we don't see it as a helpful thing, then we're going crazy and just voting for freedom and just do whatever we want. And then end result of that, we end up on one of those planets, and we're just like really extending our time period till the next opportunity to appreciate these boundaries, basically. But at the same time, I'm thinking about what you said, Madana Prabhu, that it's not, and I really, really appreciate that point. It's not that we excluding and we're going on another side or the camp, and we are conservatively embrace those boundaries. So we say this is the way, and everything else, those people are demons, and they're and basically falling again in what Guru Maharaj was pointing out in the previous class of fourth canto, the danger of pride, of following those boundaries or Vedic Varnashrama system.
You still there? You finished?
I'm here. Yeah. Just a few points came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Maharaj is one of the main points he's stressing in this canto is about Maharaj Priyabrata, and how Maharaj Priyabrata initially thought that if I'm going to be spiritual, it means I'm going to be celibate and not get married or anything, take sannyas kind of thing. And that wasn't right. And Lord Brahman came and told him, no, you must marry, and he did that. So we just have to see it as in its proper perspective. There's another nice statement. Let's look at this in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Some of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries on the 11th canto are really amazing about Varnashram Dharma. And this is one of them. Gyananishto virakto va madbhakto vanapekshaka salingam ashramam shaktva chadad avidigochara. A person who's fixing gyan and detached from external objects, or my devotee who is detached even from a desire for liberation, both should reject the ashram duties based on external rituals or paraphernalia and conduct themselves beyond the range of rules. And Vishwanath then explains how the mature Jnani and the Nishkam Bhakta, and that's really important to note, the devotee who doesn't have any material desires, they're beyond the rules of Varnashram. They don't have to follow those things. But though indifference to those things on apekshaka is not possible for the devotee who's not developed prema. Someone was asking me here in the ashram this morning, I had a long talk with some of the brahmacharis, and afterwards they were talking about sannyas something, and one of them asked something about my Guru Maharaj and sannyas, and I said, well, one of my Guru Maharaj's godbrothers asked him a question once, why haven't you given sannyas to anyone? And Guru Maharaj said very simply, because they're not qualified. And then this godbrother friend of his asked him, what is the qualification? And Guru Maharaj answered with one word, prema. That's a pretty high qualification for sannyas. I don't think that Guru Maharaj himself would insist on that, but that was his general attitude, and that's the general, that's really the ultimate point, and that's what Vishwanath is saying here, that someone who has prema, then they don't have to follow all these varnas and ashrams and everything. But if they don't have that, then it's necessary. I'll share another one since everybody's quiet. I'll share, this is also from the 11th canto. I really like this one a lot. This is for all my friends who love Varnashram Dharma. 1847, Varnashrama Avatam Dharma Esha Achara Lakshanaha Saeva Madbhakti Yuto Nishrayasa Kadaparaha. Following rules of Varnashram with a little mixture of bhakti produces impersonal liberation. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur comments, having spoken of mixed bhakti, where bhakti is more prominent than gyan, Krishna now describes secondary bhakti, where gyan is more prominent than bhakti. Activities of Varnashram with offerings to me produce impersonal liberation. What does that mean? Again, it's the same point that we have come to practice bhakti. And bhakti is done in the guidance of Guru. So our practice of Varnashram Dharma really is Vaidhi Bhakti. Because if you want to try to study Varnashram Dharma and Manasamhita, and this thing that Prabhupada said, you'll just go completely crazy. There's encyclopedias of rules and different things. And Bhaktivinoda, writing in Bengali for the Indians, he says in one place in Chaitanya Siksamrita, that as long as one has material desires, they must follow all the rules of Varnashram. Means you got to get out that encyclopedia and go through all the different rules and regulations. We'll go crazy and we'll spend our whole life and we'll never even be able to follow them properly, and we'll leave our bodies and we won't have gotten anything. Our adhikar is in a different way, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about that. Let's see. I'd like to, yeah, right here. I'll share this with you also. This is this is a beautiful, beautiful statement from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's a conversation, Jaiva Dharma, between a guru and disciple. Yadava Das asks his Guru Maharaj, can householder devotees who are living under the shelter of Varnashram, they live under the shelter, if they give up Varnashram, can they still be a Vaishnav? A very interesting question. Because a Grihastha means he's following Varnashram. So if he gives up Varnashram, can they still be a Vaishnav? And he says that Vaishnav Dharma is very broad and generous. Everybody is qualified to follow Varnashram Dharma. Even outcasts may embrace Vaishnav Dharma and live as householders. For them, there is no Varnashram. Those who break the Varnashram rules of sannyas and become a Vantasi, someone eats their own vomit, may, by associating with devotees, attain pure bhakti. Then they can be householder devotees. For them, there are no rules of Varnashram. They who, because of their misdeeds, have left the Varnashram system may still, along with their children, take shelter of pure bhakti in the association of the devotees. Then they're householder devotees. They are not part of the Varnashram system. Householder devotees are two kinds, those who follow Varnashram and those who don't. And Yadavadas says, well, Guru Maharaj, which of those two is the best? And he says very simply, the one who has more devotion is the best. And if neither of them have any devotion, then according to the material point of view, the follower of Varnashram is better because he's pious and the other is an outcast. But from a spiritual point of view, they're both degraded, for neither has any devotion. Our purpose and the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is to get Krishna Bhakti. And therefore, the first canto of the Bhagavatam begins with the foundational statement that Dharma Projit Kaitavutra, that it kicks out all types of cheating religion, part of which is Varnashram Dharma, where someone's just following some rules and regulations for their own selfishness. Our Varnashram Dharma is Vaidhi Bhakti. We're following the orders of Guru to help us in our spiritual life. And reading this thing from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, none of us here in this meeting today have any, maybe Anapayani Radha, I don't know, have any adhikar for Varnashram Dharma. I mean, you must be following Varnashram Dharma. You have your hair down now, but you don't have a bindi on. You're disqualified. We can laugh about it, but we all know there are devotees who really are concerned about those things. And when they'll get on the lady's case, if she's not wearing it, having a bindi or not having hair proper. And there's some reasons for that too. I know sometimes Subhag Maharaj gets on the case of some of the ladies if they're not wearing a bindi because of those boundaries. But he's speaking not for the purpose of Varnashram Dharma, but he's speaking for the purpose of their bhakti.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
I always had a bit of a bewilderment about this. I asked it in the chat, sort of, that most Diksha gurus, they will not interfere with what your service is. They let you figure that out with sort of Prabhupada's institution, whoever is your authority, kind of thing. So we don't bring our Varnashram with us, and we don't have our guru tell us, in most cases, what is actually our nature. And therefore, I mean, this is my understanding, it could be wrong, but therefore we have all these lost souls in our movement, like anyway, who after chanting for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, and they are not lost souls in the sense of spiritual life. They have their Guru Maharaj and they're very faithful to their Guru Maharaj. They're not lost in that sense, but I feel lost. Does it mean that in some sense? So does it mean that after, like however many years of chanting, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the first thing that you would see by Cetodarpana Marjanam is your position in Varnashram Dharma. And if after 33 years of chanting, I understand that I may be doing particular activities, but in actuality I don't have the adhikar for any of these activities, particularly speaking. That's really like a big blow. And does that mean that I haven't recognized where I am? Does that mean that my devas are not?
First of all, be careful. In the Anyabhilasita Shunyam verse, Jnana Karmadi Anagritam, Rupa Goswami, you've heard me speak on this many times, I think. Rupa Goswami starts off by saying Anyabhilasha
not
Vishunya.
the goal, and it's not, and without this, it's possible to attain
Right. So
bhakti.
Jnana Karma Jnana Karmadi Anabhritam. There should be no Jnana, there should be no karma. Karma means Vanashram Dharma,
Yeah.
etc. And it shouldn't be Anabhritam. It shouldn't cover it. And it may cover it in one of two ways, thinking that that's the goal, or thinking that I have to do Vanashram Dharma, otherwise I can't get bhakti. So what I hear in your comment is a little bit of this, that, oh, why I've been practicing bhakti and I don't understand my position in Varnashram Dharma yet.
No, I don't mind about not understanding. I mean, I don't mind it in the sense of what I do as my service to my Gurudevas, but I do mind it if it means that in 33 years I haven't chanted the holy names sincerely enough for Krishna to manifest basic things in my life.
Well, that's
Yeah,
my point.
and what-
I understand what you're saying. I mean, you're not understanding my point. Why, after 33 years, do you think that this is a necessity, that this is what Krishna's going to reveal to you? Maybe Krishna's never going to reveal some material thing because he just wants you to come to him. He
But
just wants you to practice bhakti.
can you put in a good word for Gurudev so that this
I do every day.
I'm not
Also, looking at your question too, it's interesting to me, just like we were speaking yesterday in our Pariprashna discussion about how a lot of devotees, not to criticize them, it's just an observation, but a lot of us are not Krishna conscious, we're institution conscious, we're ISKCON conscious. And what is the difference between the two? ISKCON is telling everybody to chant Hare Krishna, read the Bhagavatam, and read Krishna book. But there is a difference between the two. We're not in ISKCON consciousness. We have an institutional perspective of what Krishna consciousness means. And therefore we ask questions like this, that the Diksha Guru, he's supposed to tell me what I'm going to do. But then it depends on me. Maybe I'm being a good person in the temple and I'm obeying all the rules and whatever like that. But if I don't have a desire to come closer to my guru, if I don't have the honesty to tell my guru where I'm at, and I don't have the sincerity to be able to accept whatever instruction the guru gives me, then maybe he or she may not give me such an instruction. Or maybe Guru is just waiting for us to realize it ourselves. You're presuming a lot in that comment. It's not just that Christians who haven't gotten their understanding are bad or insufficient or this or that. Maybe this is just part of the process. I think a lot of times the guru, if they're good and they really want someone to practice to advance in bhakti, a lot of times they don't stress some of those things because they just want them to focus on chanting japa and doing kirtan and chanting the holy name and like that, because that's what's going to really help them. And if you start telling them some Varnashram Dharma things in the beginning, a lot of them will become confused. But most everybody, they're engaged according to their psychophysical nature, which is some kind of Varnashram Dharma. Just like you, when you first came, they engaged you in doing BBT work. Krishna Kundan and
a very
Natasha.
short time.
But you've always had an interest in that, and it's always been around with you. And that was my point, is they engage you like that. And Natasha, people engage you in some management kind of things, some organization things. Devotees see what our proclivity is and they engage us like that. Looks like we lost Anapayani. Maybe her connection broke or something.
I'm sorry, I guess maybe this was like a too personal way of bringing this up, but I really I'm kind of questioning a lot of things about my services and my abilities, and I'm trying to take shelter at the same time, and I'm trying to chant deeper, and it's been a real heart churner for me in the last few weeks like that.
But I think Krishna Kona, if you're saying something really personal, we're with friends here, but I think you're going through a particular time right now of physical health, what's really difficult for you. And that's really the source of things, because you've gotten so many beautiful instructions, lifelong instructions from Fakir Mohan Prabhu and Radha Govinda Maharaj and Niranjan Maharaj and so many Guru Janas that you can be confident with. I don't think that, and you are being confident with him and you're sticking with him and doing those things. I think it's just your particular physical, psychophysical situation right now. That was really personal. We lost Anupani for a minute. Hare Krishna, nice to see you back.
Hare Krishna, sorry, my phone died, so I had to log it in.
Okay, anybody else with anything?
Yeah, can I didn't hear what Krishna Kun was saying last part of it. I mean, kind of the middle, I guess. But I just wanted to ask the question, isn't generally they're needed and helpful for bhakti, but it was also Humanandra were quoted Jaiva Dharma, so if the bhakti is not a goal, it's not leading to bhakti, so it's useless, it's even harmful. But isn't it like Krishna Kundi mentioning the case when like after chanting, even the basic thing does not manifest in terms of understanding the position in Varnashrama, basically. But isn't it may not manifest for specific people, specific personalities, if it's not needed for the bhakti progress. If
Yeah.
the person, it's just like you're perfectly situated in your bhakti that you don't even need that, and Krishna is not manifesting it in some ways. Just a question, just a sort of question.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody's different. When Srila Prabhupada, one devotee was complaining about my Guru Maharaj Prabhupada, he's just a new man. Why are you going to give him sannyas? And Prabhupada turned to that devotee and said, and it was one of Prabhupada's very, very first disciples who said that. And Prabhupada said, "You're a new man." He's been practicing Krishna consciousness all his whole life. So it's very different for each and every person. And I think in Krishna Kun's case, that she's just going through a system right now with her nerves traveling so much and different things, and she's just, she's nervous about everything. And it's not, I think spiritually though, she's really, really good. She's fixed on what to do. But this doubt, this thing's coming to her like that. I'm sorry, Krishna Kun, you brought all this up. Okay, so maybe I should share some other things here. This is a screenshot here. This is an overview of the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, and it's 26 chapters. It's dialogue between Shukadev and Parikshit. And there's other dialogues between Rishabdev and his sons, Bharat Maharaj and Maharaj Rahugana. And the topics include the appearance and life and teachings of Rishabdev, Hayagriva, speaking Vedic knowledge of Lord Brahma, the activity characteristics, the teachings and liberation of Maharaj Bharat, who was incarnated as a deer, and then the descendants of Maharaj Priyabrata, and the descriptions of the universe, and the description of the flow of the Ganga, and expansions of Narayana's Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, and glories of Ananta Sankarshan, Seish Tamasi. That's actually, that's from some devotee posted. This is on, what do you call that? Not Google, but
Wikipedia?
Wikipedia. Yeah, that's a Wikipedia thing. So that's the description of the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. I really appreciate Maharaj's perspective about it. I mean, I find it very, very refreshing, Maharaj's perspective on these. I don't find it to be, a lot of times, honestly, when I hear someone speaking the Bhagavatam, I feel like that they're looking for particular points to support things that they like. But I really don't feel like that with Maharaj. I really feel like he's just looking in a very impartial way and just presenting the Bhagavatam. And his comments about Maharaj Priyabrata and his premature renunciation, it's a very, very important point that premature renunciation and Varnashram, they're very similar. I remember one older devotee, actually, Krishna Kun knows him. He was a very senior devotee doing education in Mayapur. In one Bhagavatam class, he raised his hand and said something about how do we take sannyas? We're supposed to take sannyas when we're 50. How does that work? And I was, I was just so shocked that somebody would actually think like that in such a mechanical kind of way. And especially for somebody who was a big educationist in ISKCON, who's teaching Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav and things in charge of the school, have such a conception. You know, Prabhupada does say that, and it is a purpose for it, but that's for people who are very much in the bodily conception and have a household life which is not favorable for bhakti. Looks like we lost Anupayani again. Okay, anybody else with anything? This seems like a good system, don't you all think? That we have some questions and discussion about things?
Yeah.
I'm kind of, on the request of the devotees, I felt a little obliged to fill in when nobody else has any comments or anything, but I'm just here to serve in that way, because I got a zillion tons of Bindu stuff and different things on all these topics. I just press a button or two and it pops up. But the real thing is discussion.
I think it's nice if we all have little time to go through the lectures relatively thoroughly.
Yeah.
And then if you have questions, then you can, just we can just discuss a little bit about that. And I think it's good enough, it's.
Yeah, I think this works like this, just as a system. I'm not feeling so, I'm okay. I would like to go through the lectures. Maharaj has brilliant things. But personally, I'd like this to be a Bhagavatam study, not just a Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj study. And I think he would appreciate that. That we take the principles and focus on them and not just only what Maharaj is saying. We're using what Maharaj is saying as a kind of springboard. But the main thing is we should discuss Bhagavatam and go through everything. So that's my personal humble thought of it.
Yeah, I think I should agree with that. I don't, but I do like his way of looking at things, and you can't really separate that from what you are doing. Natasha, I would like to have like an organizational question, if I may.
I'm going to run off for 1 minute, so you go ahead and talk.
Okay. I believe that, it's nearly January. I believe that you are attending with Prema. Are you attending those classes?
Yes.
And things are going, like, how far are you with the Russian overview of the Bhagavatam? Do you have any idea how many more sessions they may have in Russian language?
We only did 4 lectures out of 9. So 5 more to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't believe we finish in January.
Doesn't look like it.
Yes.
Okay. I was a little, just another thing to be nervous about. I was a little nervous because we have quite a bit to go with these, but then I'm peaceful.
And we have 7 more.
Hmm?
We in this English list we have 7 more lectures, and in the Russian list there are 5 more lectures.
7? I thought it was 18, maybe 17.
Yes, it's 17. Now we discussed the 10th.
7 more. Yeah, 7 more. Okay. I just wanted to check in with you about that.
Mhm.
I mean, I try to listen a little bit from Mirage. Most of the time, I don't get to listen the whole of the lecture from him, but I do read it. And that's kind of, and I'm very visual, so for me, this is good.
Yeah, I
Oh.
also, this time I read through the summary that you gave, and I also read through part of the transcription. And like Krishna Kun, I'm a lot more visual. I don't have time for audio thing, and audio just doesn't work for me hardly.
I have a quick question, a practical question. You have been sending PDF files for these summaries.
Mhm.
Do you make them in Word and then make them in
Yes.
PDF?
Yes.
I open them in PDF and I turn them into Word, Krishna Kun.
That's the first thing I do, and I wanted to, but this one I couldn't do, and that's why I'm asking. Because actually, for me, it would be better in Word. Like that's the
Okay.
first thing I do.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I just
Word's much better for me too. Both of us, I think, we mark it up and highlight.
yeah, we mark it up. Yeah, we mark it up, and
Yes,
it's just
definitely.
easier in Word, and I break it up, and then it's more conceptualized for me like that.
Okay. No.
Okay, thank you. It's very, very helpful. I know that you probably go a lot more deeper into this than us, but I'm satisfied that we are able to maintain something and at least touch base with.
I regret only about practical assignments which Maharaj gives, and we don't discuss them and we don't do it because we do it in
In the Russian session, and it's really very
Russian
nice.
sessions. Yes, we do it, and devotees share how many miracles happen because
Well,
of
have
I wouldn't mind doing that.
you haven't been giving us those practical assignments because I thought that was going to start later on when we finish the overview.
we could try for what we did for this fourth lecture. We memorized these 4 shlokas from 7th chapter of first canto. This 6, 7, 8, 9, and
Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, please share all that.
and we were like meditating about so we were keeping in mind these shlokas, and we were reading Bhagavatam and approaching Bhagavatam before reading Bhagavatam in this mood. And also we were writing some letters to Krishna, to spiritual master, about and some prayers to
I'll be
for
happy with that.
Mhm.
Give it to us. Be our teacher.
Okay, okay, I will share also these assignments then. Also
Yeah, it's
now.
good. It'll be good. I think it's- Okay.
All right, so we'll go ahead and finish. Maybe we just got a few minutes for a little personal stuff then. I'd be curious to
I will
know.
stop the record.
Okay.
The whole thing was